coffee started on.
In the modern world, power often hides behind wealth, influence, and reputation. It moves quietly through private meetings, elite gatherings, and social circles where status becomes protection. The story of Jeffrey Epstein is not simply about a wealthy financier. It is about how money, access, and connections can be used to conceal serious crimes for years. Jeffrey Epstein was born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York, to a working-class family. He did not come from wealth or political influence. After briefly attending college without earning a degree, he entered the financial sector and eventually positioned himself as a money manager for ultra-wealthy clients. By the 1980s and 1990s, he had established a reputation as a discreet financial consultant who worked with powerful individuals. Epstein accumulated significant assets, including luxury homes in Manhattan, Florida, New Mexico, and a private island in the Caribbean. More important than his properties were his connections. He associated with politicians, business leaders, academics, and public figures. His social network gave him credibility and access to elite environments. To many outsiders, he appeared to be a mysterious but successful member of high society. Behind that image, however, prosecutors later alleged a long-running pattern of criminal behavior. Beginning in the early 2000s, reports surfaced that Epstein was sexually abusing underage girls. Law enforcement investigations revealed that teenage girls were recruited, often through intermediaries, and brought to his residences under false promises of money, opportunities, or assistance. According to federal indictments, some victims were as young as 14 years old. Authorities alleged that Epstein paid minors for sexual acts and encouraged a system in which victims were pressured to recruit other girls. In 2008, Epstein entered a controversial plea agreement in Florida. He pled guilty to state charges related to procuring a minor for prostitution and solicitation of prostitution. As part of the agreement, he served approximately 13 months in a county jail, much of it under work release conditions that allowed him to leave the facility for extended periods. The deal also provided immunity to potential co-conspirators. Many legal experts, journalists, and victims later criticized the agreement as unusually lenient given the scale of the allegations. After completing his sentence, Epstein largely returned to private life but maintained access to influential social circles. The perception that he had avoided serious federal prosecution raised concerns about whether wealth and connections had influenced the legal outcome. In July 2019, federal authorities in New York arrested Epstein on charges of sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking. The indictment alleged that he operated a trafficking network over many years, transporting underage girls across state lines and using his properties to facilitate abuse. The charges described a systematic pattern in which minors were exploited and compensated, while others were recruited into the network. The case attracted global attention. Survivors publicly described their experiences. Journalists examined the earlier plea deal and questioned how such an arrangement had been negotiated. The situation became a broader symbol of the tension between justice and influence. On August 10, 2019, while awaiting trial in a federal detention center in New York City, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his jail cell. Authorities ruled his death a suicide. Because he died before trial, the full legal proceedings never unfolded in court. Epstein's death also intensified public scrutiny of institutional oversight. Questions emerged regarding jail supervision, prior warnings about his safety, and the broader systems responsible for managing high-profile detainees. The Epstein case exposed serious failures in legal judgment, failures in institutional transparency, and failures in protecting vulnerable individuals.
We were girls and young women who were victimized by Epstein and Maxwell. in a trafficking ring.
It demonstrated how individuals with significant resources can delay consequences, sometimes for years. At its core, this story is about the trafficking and sexual exploitation of minors. It is about the abuse of power and the manipulation of vulnerable individuals. It is also about the responsibility of institutions to act decisively, regardless of status or wealth. Jeffrey Epstein's legacy is defined not by his financial dealings, but criminal allegations involving the exploitation and trafficking of underage girls. His case remains one of the most significant modern examples of how influence and secrecy can intersect with serious crime, and how difficult it can be to untangle that intersection once it becomes embedded in powerful networks. Power can create opportunity, but when it shields wrongdoing, it becomes a danger not only to individuals, but to trust in the system itself.